All right, as I said in the beginning of the previous class, we're going to learn today three speeches that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in 1991 when there was the Gulf War. And he gave these speeches as a reply to a certain rabbi that used the opportunity of the Gulf War to vent his bad personality on the Jewish people. And there's people that they're very negative people, and they look for opportunities to release their negativity on others, and they use the Torah as a vehicle for this. That now they can find all sorts of new bad things that didn't exist before, and that they can get angry about it. So here we have a very strange situation. In 1991, so Saddam Hussein, that he was the head of Iraq, he decided that he was going to become the head of the Arab world or whatever. I don't know what he wanted to do. But in any case, he shot missiles on Israel. He shot 39 very, very powerful missiles on Israel. And Israel was basically helpless. They had these, what they call Patriot missiles or something like that did basically nothing. Basically nothing. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe said, you don't have to worry, nobody's going to get, no one's going to get killed. Israel is the safest place to be in the world, and everyone was afraid. These missiles, like, they brought down huge buildings. They're called Scud missiles, Scud or whatever. And they had a tremendous warhead. And there was big suspicions that they had nuclear weapons inside of them, or biological weapons inside of them. Not nuclear weapons. It could be also that they suspected everything. And they said that Saddam Hussein has been stockpiling these weapons, and he's got biological warfare. It's going to be biological warfare. And they gave out gas masks, and Israel gave out gas masks to everybody, which they didn't work. The fact is, they didn't work. And they weren't necessary anyway. And the Rebbe said, okay, gas masks they gave out, and everybody had to tape up their windows, and everyone was afraid. And there was going to be the chemical warfare, going to be mustard gas, there's going to be biological warfare. Everybody's going to be, sick, and they were all going to die. The whole thing was going to die. And Saddam Hussein was threatening he was going to wipe out and burn up Tel Aviv. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe said, you don't have to worry. Nothing's bad is going to happen. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. And no one in the world agreed with him. And there's one particular rabbi he lived in Bnei Brak, and he saw this as his opportunity. Now he's going to make a big name for himself. And so he just vented his wrath and showed what he really thought about the Jews anyway. And he said, now there's going to be the judgment day, and there's going to be destruction, and there's going to be another Holocaust. He said there's going to be another Holocaust. And he was going on talking and gabbing about this. And the Rebbe was trying to say, everybody, listen, I'm telling you, don't worry. God loves the Jewish people, and stop saying bad things about them. It just arouses God's. And this fellow in Bnei Brak, he was like, it was really sort of anticipating with great joy that God was going to finally take out his wrath on the bad people. And of course, who he himself considered himself to be one of the good people. That's sort of why. Anyone who's not like me is bad. Okay, there's always people like that. What are you going to do? So the Rebbe stood up and he gave 3 beautiful, long speeches on Shabbat, 3 Shabbats in a row, about how good the Jewish people are, even the Jewish people that do sins, and how precious they are in God's eyes, and how God got very angry anytime any Jew, even Moses, even Isaiah the prophet, said anything bad about the Jews. So Jews should never say anything bad about Jews, ever. Because the Jews are the apple of God's eye. All the Jews, without exception. And that's what we're going to learn about today. That's what I want to learn about. Now, this is especially relevant now because, first of all, we are being attacked, just like back then. And also, there are rabbis today that are saying sort of the same thing. They're not exactly saying the same thing. At least I haven't heard it. Is this maybe they learned their lesson? But there's a lot of rabbis that are saying bad things about other people. Let's put it that way. They're saying things about other rabbis and they're saying this. Now, we're not saying that you should not reprove the Jewish people and that the Jewish people are making mistakes, that you should definitely point out those mistakes. But that does not mean that the Jewish people are bad. It means that they do bad things. It means that they can be tricked into thinking bad thoughts, into having bad values. So there's different, how do you say, you have the philosophies and ideas and the shitas and political, how do you say, the theories and things that are wrong. That are wrong. And that you can talk about. And there's people that get fooled by them, Jews. But that does not make the Jew bad, God forbid. It means that he's got on the wrong path somehow there, and it's a big commandment to put Jews back on the right path. It is, yes. But not by threatening them and not by telling them how mad God is and how bad they are, etc. Okay, let's go, come on. So this is one of the speeches from Sharp's Parshas Vayechi. That's the end of the book of Bereshit. And it is also happened to be that it was a Sarah B'Tevet Yafok L'Simcha. It happened to be that on that year, 1991, the fast day of the 10th day of Tevet, which that's the day that Nebuchadnezzar came and laid siege to the Holy Temple. So it was the same thing as now. In 2 days, we're going to have a fast, right, of the beginning of the actual destruction of the first and the second temples. But this is also dealing with the destruction of the temple. So it says because it happened on Shabbat, it should transform to happiness. If the 10th day, the fast day, falls on Shabbat, so they don't fast on Shabbat. They fast and then push it to another day. Okay, here we go. Siyum v'chosem, the end and the finishing of this book of Genesis. Sefer Rishon, the first book of the Torah, and after that we announce Chazak, Chazak, v'nitchazek. Be strong, and let us strengthen ourselves. Kaminag, like it's the custom of the Jewish people in the end of all of the books, beginning with the book of Bereshit, that we say Chazak, Chazak, v'nitchazek. This hints at Achizuk v'itchazkut of the Jewish people and everything they do. That's Parshas Vayechi, Vayechi Yaakov. Okay, so again, the Torah is the strength and the identity of the Jewish people. And the Torah is alive. The Torah is telling us what the world is being created for, and it tells us how we should do our job to improve the world. So when the Rebbe was saying this, this was the end of the book of Genesis, and the last chapter in the book of Genesis is the parsha which is called Vayechi, and it says Vayechi Yaakov, that Yaakov lived. Now, an interesting thing is in the Torah, it doesn't say that Jacob died. It says that he was gathered into his people, and the rabbis comment that Jacob never died. Yaakov never died. Yaakov Avinu lo meit, it says. Jacob never died. Okay, so it says Vayechi Yaakov, we find that Yaakov is some way better, higher than Avram and Yitzchak. Why? Like it says in the Gemara, Yaakov Avinu lo meit. It says in the Talmud that Jacob did not die. See 5, where is this? In Tainit, in the Gemara in Tainit. Jacob did. The key, and it says in the Gemara, what do you mean he didn't die? It says clearly in the Torah that they eulogized, they cried for Jacob, it says, and it says they even embalmed him and they buried him. Jacob is buried in Hebron, Merat HaMachpelah, right? And this is ubichdei, and for nothing. Saftu Savdaya, they eulogized him. V'chantu chantayo, and they embalmed him. V'kavru kavraya, and they buried him. How can you say that Yaakov never died? So the one who said it, made the statement, Yaakov Avinu never died, he said, Mikra ani doresh. I'm learning a sentence in the Torah. In the Torah, in another place. Here in Parshas Vayechi, it doesn't say that he died. It just says that they eulogized him. He drew his feet into the bed, it says, and they eulogized him and they embalmed him and they buried him. But it doesn't say that he died. Another place says clearly that he didn't die. What does it say? It says, Va'ata al tira abdi. It's from the prophecy of Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah. He's speaking to the Jewish people and he says, Va'ata, now, al tira abdi Yaakov. Do not be afraid, my servant Jacob, says God. Va'al tachet Yisrael, and do not be afraid, Jewish people. Ki henini Moshiach, I will save you from far away. Who is he saving from far away? Jacob and the Jewish people. Ve'etzaracha me'eretz shivyam, and all of the seed of the Jewish people from the lands that they have been imprisoned. So don't be afraid, my servant Jacob, and the Jewish people, don't be afraid, because I'm going to save you all. Makish hu v'zaro. It says that Jacob and his offspring will all be saved. Ma zaro b'chaim, just like his seed, the Jewish people are alive and they will be saved. God said, also, I'm going to save you. He's also alive. That's what it means. V'yechi Yaakov chai hu la'olam, that Jacob is alive forever. That's what the Torah says. Okay, how is he alive forever? Where do we see him walking around? Where is he alive forever? I don't know, but the Torah says it must be true. Okay, since the rabbis learned that Yaakov, he didn't die, from the fact that it says it's a makish hu v'zaro, that we link him and his children together. Just like God says, Jacob, don't be afraid. I am going to bring you and your children back. So they're the same thing, just like the children will be alive. Also, he is alive. That's what the rabbis learn it from. They don't learn from this week's Torah portion, from the Vayechi. It says, Vayigva v'Yosef el Amav. It says by Yaakov, when Yaakov passed away, it doesn't say that he died. It says Vayigva, that he was like, about to die, and he was gathered to his people. Mita lo namra, it doesn't say in the Torah that he died. Why doesn't the rabbi learn from that? He learns from the sentence of Jeremiah. He says, Pasuk ani doresh. Says, I am learning a sentence from the Torah. So, how's this going on? This is, 1 minute. What happens if I do this? 1 minute. Oh. I hope I didn't do something wrong. 1 minute. Press the wrong button. Why didn't it? All right, forget it. No, that's a mistake. Okay. There we go. I'll have to be satisfied with this small picture here. Is that true? Let's see. No, I can't move it. All right, that's what I got. Okay. Oh, yeah. I made it even smaller. Oh, yeah. No. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay. So Vayechi Yaakov, this depends on the Jewish people. They said by means of the fact that the Jewish people are alive, as also Jacob is alive. Okay, so here we have a strange thing in the Torah. The Torah is trying to tell us that there's a human being, and his name was Jacob. There was a date that he was born. He has a father, he got a mother, right? He lived in a certain place, but he didn't die. He didn't die. He's still alive. Nobody sees him, but the Torah says he's alive. If the Torah says he's alive, then he's alive. How do we know he's alive? Because it says in Jeremiah that God says I'm going to gather you and your children together, right? And your children, so just like his children are alive, so he's alive. So they learn it from a sentence in Jeremiah, a sentence in the Torah. So it says, the fact that this weird fact that Jacob is still alive, we learn from the fact that it says in the Torah that his children, the Jewish people, are still alive, and we connect them. It's called the Hekesh. We join them together. So if so, the fact that Jacob is alive, that there's such a thing as eternal life, this is depending on the Jewish people. The Jewish people are also eternal. But it's even more than that. Not just that Jewish people are eternal historically and that there's always Jews. Each and every person is alive forever. We'll see. Yeshlom, we can say that this is the reason why that this is said about Jacob. Why isn't it said about Abraham and Yitzchak? Kizaro b'chaim, this is relevant to the Jacob. The Jacob, Yaakov, he's called Yisrael. And the Jewish people, first of all, his children were complete. Jacob had 12 sons. All of them were holy people, which is not the case Abraham and Yitzchak. From Abraham came Yishmael. From Yitzchak came Esav. They were not very positive. By Yaakov, all of his offspring were pure. And therefore, that Jacob is alive, that this was made up by his children are alive, this is relevant to Jacob. Oh. So if so, we see that the Jewish people, they have something eternal in them, just like Jacob does, that they're all good. The explanation is this: the aspect of Yaakov is what's called truth. Abraham, it says, was mainly love. Yitzchak was power. Yaakov was truth, like it says, Titain emet Yaakov, like it says, give truth to Jacob. Truth to Jacob. So, this is one of the blessings that we say in prayer. Titain emes Yaakov, give truth to Jacob. Techunat emet, the aspect of truth, which was drawn and permeates everything, from above to below, from below to above. B'kol hatokev v'shlemer, truth. What is truth? Truth is reality. What truth is reality? Lies can't stand up, right? Liars, like it says, you can fool all the people some of the time. You can fool some of the people all the time. You can't fool everybody all the time. Truth is reality. That's what truth is. A thing that can be, there's truth within a certain situation, right? In a certain environment, this is true. Other places, it's not true. There's all these theories of mathematics, philosophy of mathematics, that if you take different axioms to be true, then all of the regular mathematics doesn't work anymore, right? Sometimes it's you do a certain thing in one place, it'll be good, acceptable. Another place, it won't be acceptable. But truth is a thing that's eternal in all places. Life is precious. There are people that'll say it's not precious, but the fact of the matter is that life is precious. It's a gift. Truth is always, right? You give your word, I'm going to do something, right? That your word is the truth. You have to do it. You can't say, no, I just said it. That's a lie. So it says truth is really what keeps everything alive, existing, that there is existence. So truth is a thing which never dies. And therefore, just like Jacob is the aspect of truth. What's truth? Every moment of his life, he served the Creator. So his children also can have in them, this same quality. They're alive because life itself is truth. By means of this, Mitkale is revealed the eternalness of Jacob. That's why Jacob is alive forever. He is alive because he embodies the aspect of truth. That's what happened when Adam ate from the tree, is he brought egotism into the world. God says this, but I say that. You can say whatever you want to, but it's not the truth. Therefore, he brought death into the world. So death is the opposite of truth, and Jacob was the embodiment of truth. Okay, let's see. How do I get this thing over here? Oh no, it goes like this. Oh, let's see. Alpi, according to this, now it's understood the idea why we say at the end of the book of we finished the first book of the Torah. That the Rebbe is saying this at the several months ago, right? When they finished the book of Genesis. But they finished the book and it says, Chazak, Chazak, Titchazek. Nitchazek. Be strong, and we will strengthen. We will be strengthened. That the Jewish people, Basium, Bechosam, Sefer Bereshit, when they finish the book of Bereshit, of Genesis, Sefer Rishon, which that's the first book of the Torah, so therefore the strengthening of the Torah, this is in it is talked about and spoken about in the book of Genesis, is talking about the life of the fathers of Judaism, that what they did empowers us. It's a sign for us. So when it says Vayechi Yaakov, namely, just as the seed of Jacob is alive, so Jacob is alive. In this, it's hinted that the seed, namely the Jewish people of Jacob, namely every single Jew, men, women, children, ad sof kol hadorot, to the end of all generations, in all of the times, in all of the situations, in all the places, they are all alive. Every single Jew is alive, true life. Every Jew is clinging to God. That's Jewish identity. It's alive by means of the Torah, the living Torah, and the commandments, like it says, V'chai b'hem, you should live in them. Every Jew. A person can ask a question, very simple, obvious question. What's the simple and obvious question? Hare, behold, Matzino, we find B'divrei Yamei Yisrael, in the history of the Jewish people and all the generations, Sheyesh Kama B'nei Yisrael, that there are always Jewish people, Shalo Royim Etzelem, we don't see in a way that they are alive eternally, attached to the Torah, attached to the commandments. B'chayom yom. We see that there's a lot of Jewish people. There always was Jews that didn't do Torah and the commandments. If so, how can we say that all of the Jewish people are the seed of Jacob and that they are all alive and attached to the Torah and the commandments? How can we say that? The answer is explained in the Talmud. After the Gemara says that Yaakov Avinu never died, comes the question. The Torah says Jacob never died. And the Gemara asked the question, what do you mean? They embalmed him. They buried him. They eulogized him. In other words, how can you possibly say that Jacob never died when actually, in revealed way, we see that he did die. He was laying there dead, and the eulogizers eulogized him, and the embalmers embalmed him, and the burial, what do they say? The burial, what do they call it? There's a word for it. There's a word for it. Anyway, the burial squad buried him. What is it? The undertakers. Oh, the undertakers buried him. What's the answer? A teretz is Mikrani Doresh. We don't care what you saw with your eyes. It says in the Torah, Shenemar, it says, Ata al tira abdi, do not be afraid, my servant Jacob, and don't be afraid, Jewish people, because I am going to save you from far away and your seed. What does it mean? That the Torah links together, in the prophecy of Jeremiah, links together Hu v'zaro, Jacob and his seed. Just like his seed are going to be alive, also he's going to be alive. In other words, Kivan Shemikra, because it says in the Torah, that's the truth. You saw that they embalmed him and they buried him. It says, it just appears that he died, but he's really alive. In other words, if you see a Jew that he's a sinner, that's just like seeing that Jacob is dead. But the Torah tells us that every Jew is holy. Your eyes don't see it because you don't see the truth. It just seems to us that this person is a sinner. Moving so we can understand. That's what it means that his seed are alive. Shekiv and Shemafor, since it says clearly in the Torah, Shamam and Ramatz of the Bnei Israel, that the state of the Jewish people in all times and all generations, until this final last generation of the exile, that here we will have, God will fulfill his promise that he made over there with Jeremiah. Behold, I will save you from far away, and your seed, your offspring, from the lands that you have been imprisoned. Hu bofen zaro b'chayim. Nevertheless, the truth is that the Jewish people are alive. The Jewish people are all holy. And if there are those people shetoim that they make a mistake, sheish kama b'nei Israel, that there are many Jews she'enom mit nagin, that they don't act properly according to the Torah and the commandments in day-to-day life. This is only nidmelem. It only appears to you shechasar, that there's lacking. Binyan zaro b'chayim. Of la'emes, but the truth is shezaro b'chayim. Every Jew is attached to life, Torah, commandments. Every Jew. Like with Yaakov, it seems that he's dead here. They're doing all these processes on him. You don't take a living person and you embalm him and you bury him. Come on. So the Torah says that's what it seems to you. It says, yeah. It says that's right. It should seem to you that way. But you have to know that that's only what seems. It's not true. Ha'emes, the truth is that Jacob is alive. How did they embalm him? How did they do that? It just seems to you that that's what they did. But it's a whole big process, embalming somebody and burying him. Come on, it's a whole big other thing. It says that God wanted it to be that way, so it'll seem to you. But He also wants you to know that the truth is not so, and you don't see the truth. The truth is shezaro b'chayim. The truth is that every Jew is holy. V'zot ba'od, and even more. Kaven, since shemazaro b'chayim, just like his seed, the offspring, the Jewish people are alive, so he is also alive. Hainu atayna, this that we say. And that some people might say, Sheish Chalishus v'chesron binyan d'zaro b'chayim, that you can say that, hey, there's some Jews that they're not really alive, they're not attached to the Torah. Even one Jew, this is a pigia. If so, this is an insult. B'inyan v'hu b'chayim, that he's alive. If you want to say that there's one Jew that's not alive, then the Jews are all attached to Yaakov. If so, there's one Jew that's not alive, that's a sinner, he's not attached to the Torah and the commandments, it means that there's a little bit of Jacob also that's not alive. It's going against the Torah. But it is going according to your feelings, and it's going according to your senses, and you can only judge according to what your eyes see. Yes, that's if it doesn't contradict the Torah. But here it contradicts the Torah. As far as what's the Shebakal Mamad Umatzav, Zaro B'chayim, Al Yidezeh Avhu B'chayim, Al Pi Maim Rizal, according to what the rabbis say. What do the rabbis say? Af Al Pi Shechata, even it's in the Talmud in Sanhedrin. It says that even though a Jew sins, Yisrael, who is still a Jew. Pasak then a Rambam, and the Rambam also decides Shemi, a person shetakfu, that a person that takfu Yetzer Hora, that is Yetzer Hora, his selfish impulse, overpowers him, levatel mitzvah, to not do a commandment or to do sins. V'hu rotza liyot miYisrael v'rotza hu lasot et mitzvah. Nevertheless, deep down he wants to do the commandments. Every Jew, no matter who he is, he wants to do the commandments and he wants to keep away from sins. Every Jew. You see Jews that are doing the sins and doing this. That's externally. That's not really him. Yetzru Tachfo, he just went temporarily insane, but that's not the real person. Hainu Shahanagaso Bapoil, as Hepechator, you see a person actually is doing the opposite of the Torah. This is just an external thing. Mipanesha Tachfo Yetzru Hara. He was temporarily insane, temporarily hypnotized. But the true essence of what this person is, Liot Mi Yisrael, he wants to be a Jew, Lasot Kol HaMitzvah, to do all the commandments. Lochen b'bli habet, we're talking about every Jew, without looking al b'mamad or mamatzav or Paul mamash. Therefore, notwithstanding what he's doing and saying and thinking, and he's writing things against Judaism, I guess, whatever, nevertheless, Yisrael, who is a Jew. Yesh lo shaychos, he's got a connection to the whole entire Torah. right? He can dress up like the Pope, right? And do idolatry and tell everybody you have to do idolatry and you have to send as many people, missionaries, to do whatever it is. And right? And he denies he's a Jew. He changed his religion. He changed everything, right? Doesn't help. He's a Jew. And because he's a Jew, so therefore he's alive. It just seems that he's doing these bad things. Like it says, Torah tzivalanu Moshe morashat kehilat Yaakov. It is an inheritance, and it doesn't depend on who gets the inheritance. A person that passes away, as he leaves $1 million to his children, it doesn't make any difference. I leave to all my children. It doesn't make any difference if there's children that hate him, children that like him. God, it says that the Torah is an inheritance to all of the Jewish people, not just all the Jews who act like Jews, who think like Jews, all the people who are Jews. A person that thinks he's not Jewish, his mother thought she wasn't Jewish, his grandmother thought she was, his grandmother's Bubba thought that she wasn't Jewish, but in fact it gets revealed that 6 generations ago, the mother of the mother of the mother that was Jewish, all of a sudden he realizes he's Jewish, he's part of the inheritance. He's a Jew. He is an inheritor. It is part of Jacob. Therefore, every Jew is holy and every Jew is pure. And God forbid never to say anything bad about the Jewish people. You can say bad things about what they do. That's what the prophets did, but never to say anything bad about them. And we're going to talk about this more tomorrow. This is a very essential thing. In other words, not to go in life, it's a very important thing. For instance, the Baal Shem Tov, one of the main messages of the Baal Shem Tov, that his father told him when he was 3 years old or 5 years old, they saw different. His father said, don't be afraid of anything except for God. Don't be afraid of anything except for God. So, which means basically like this: if you want to do something, so check in the Torah to say that if it's true or not. It's true or not. If the thing you want to do is something you really like, you really want to get a pleasure from it, so check 5 times, 10 times. If the thing that you want to do is to be afraid, then check 100 times if you should be afraid or not. Because fear is a very, very bad thing. Why? Because there's things to be afraid of. What about what the world says? What about the United Nations? What about this? It could be, you shouldn't be afraid. In other words, don't trust your senses. Trust what it says in the Torah. Same thing here. My senses tell me these people are sinners. They're doing bad things. They're saying bad things. They're thinking bad things. They're sinners. He says, don't trust your senses. Don't trust yourself. You have to love every Jew. You have to fear nothing except for God. You have to love God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your might. That's what you have to love and fear. You want to hate something? Hate your bad attitude that tells you that you should direct your hatred to other people. That you should hate. That's your enemy. Your own bad attitude, your own false fears. Fix yourself up. But about other Jews, they're 100%. They're 100%. You just have to bring it out. How do you bring it out? We'll talk about that. But the way to bring it out is by saying positive things, doing positive things. Negative things are not going to bring out the good in others. It'll just make people like you. They'll be like you. You'll give birth to negative people just like you're negative. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow.